We're on.
All, all right, everyone. Welcome to the Commander Signal podcast. Um, the home. We're gonna have to redo that one. All right. One, two, three. Welcome to the Commander Signal podcast, where we cover Redskins past and Commanders present and future with hosts Alex and Ken. And in today's episode, we are celebrating the sale of the team from Dan Snyder to Josh Harris and his group of investors.
That's right. Very nice. Yes, we are here. So it's finally done. Finally. Goodbye, Dan. See you later. I don't have champagne, but I do have the champagne of beers.
Hey, there you
I
go.
do a punk podcast. Y'all know I drink shit like this. Is that Popeyes?
It's a Popeyes cup, but it's just Pepsi in it. But yeah.
Like, yeah, dude. Popeyes originated here in Louisiana, in New
Oh yeah.
Orleans, and it's nice to see that it's in Canada. Kick
Oh
ass.
yeah. I enjoy it. Last Wednesday I had their blackened chicken sandwich. This is totally not a promotion for them, by the way, but
this
it ended
is
up being
completely
really great.
devolved
And then
already.
yeah. But anyway,
That's
we got
like
to get back on track. And
Popeye, sponsor me, please. All right.
yes.
Fuck. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Wow, this is a train wreck. Um, it's a celebration on my end for sure. And so the Commanders have been sold officially. We waited till it was officially official, so we're here now. And Dan Snyder era is over. We've all waited so long for this, and here we are. And it's been traded to Josh Harris. We'll talk shit about Dan later. I think we can get to the news part of this and get straight to Josh Harris at this point. I believe, right?
Yeah, no, that's certainly where it's at there. So it's a good
So
idea to start there. Um, So taking a look at things, Josh Harris brings in stability for Washington here, and that's a very much needed thing here after dealing with Dan Snyder for nearly 24 years. Um, just taking a look at it, he also owns the Philadelphia 76ers and New Jersey Devils, or at least has parts of ownership there.
right.
So we're able to take a look at how those teams have been doing, just to get a general idea of how he is as an owner. Now, he is a bit more hands off than a lot of other owners. So you're going to see that the football people in Washington are going to be ones making the decisions instead of having an owner involved like Dan Snyder was in the past. So it's going to be interesting to see how roster signings and things like that go.
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting to know. I didn't know that.
yeah. But taking a look at the 76ers, they've been interesting because he's
Yes,
owned them since 2011. And
right.
they've had a bit of a rough time sometimes, but they did go through a rebuild from 2012 to 2016. But they've been making the Eastern Conference semis ever since. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
have
they
here that they playoffs in 6 straight seasons, and that comes after the beginning where they were 19-63 in a historically bad season,
yes.
and they had what they called the process, which I believe they brought up in the press conference. We'll get to the press conference after a while. But it seems like they've rebuilt pretty good. But again, and then this is what the only point I wanted to bring up is it's just really hard to win in the NBA, man. It's
Oh, it
with everyone
is.
kissing LeBron's ass and Stephen Curry exists, and you got to have a super team otherwise. Everyone that is not one of those three, and you know, what are
No,
you gonna do?
that's very true. Then you'll find even those teams that do have that one good year, sometimes it's a small market team that just can't afford to keep all those guys anyway, so they end up running off to another team, and then it's very interesting over there. So to see that they've actually been able to rebuild from a team that, like you said, were like 1963, and I think at one point it says here they finished 10-72 in 2015. But to turn it around and be a 54 win team like they were this year,
Yeah,
um, it shows that, the ownership has trust in the guys that they have running the team there. So that's a good sign, I think. We could also take a look at the New Jersey Devils as well, because that's the
right,
hockey team he owns.
right.
Um, he's owned them since 2013, so it's been a little less time they've kind of went through that same thing where they needed to rebuild the roster and turn around. And he kind of did that thing where he put the people in charge that were the best to like run the team in that situation and just let them do their job. It's got to the point where this year they won 52 games out of an
Right.
82 game season, right? Went
Right.
to the playoffs. They did lose in the second round, but
Right.
they've got a lot of potential there. And um, I really think that those two cases here of the 76ers and the Devils, just seeing how with his ownership of both teams, they've been able to go through basically turmoil, overcome it, and there hasn't really been too much negativity on like the ownership side throughout any of it. I think that's what we need for Washington, especially the football, going forward.
Yeah, that's what I had wrote for the Devils. They did pretty good this season. They lost the second round to the Canes, like you said, and before that, though, it looks like they've had a pretty rough go for the most part. And I haven't watched hockey that much at that point. I know you're a bigger hockey guy than I was now. I'm a
Oh
huge
yeah.
fan now. I'm back. I was a
Oh yeah.
big NBA fan before all that, but the NBA is just so I've converted. But
Oh
yeah, he seems like a great owner, man. He really does. We'll see, and we'll get to that later too. But let's talk about the Josh Harris group a little bit, maybe.
yes,
If
yes.
that's a part of this whole thing. Obviously the biggest member we know is Magic Johnson is a big part of this whole thing. Can't
Yes.
can't escape him now.
Oh no, and you can't escape his comments either. Already rumoring that there could
We'll
be
be getting to that.
possible. I'm not even going to
Yeah.
get there because
Oh,
I heard that.
got a
Oh,
bridge to cross on that whole bit.
oh yeah.
You know me, right?
Yes.
So there's Magic Johnson. He's a big bit of this. Billionaire Mitchell Rails. He's from Maryland. I don't know what he does much. Dave Blitzer, which owns Crystal Palace FC, which is English Premier League soccer that him and Josh Harris also kind of co-run.
Oh, look at that. He's even involved in soccer. I'm learning things right now.
Yes, he is. He has that, which is English Premier. Again, I know fuck all about that, so
Oh no,
whatever.
that was the thing I would put on at 9 in the morning if I had nothing else to watch. But
That's better. And also there's a Google CEO Eric Schmidt, and there's 20 other limited partners that I couldn't really find much of. There's a couple other names I bet that were bounced around here and there, but that's just part of the partners group we found. And I was just trying to see some of who these people were. Then, like I said, Blitzer owns soccer with him. Oh, also, here's a fun one for you. You're gonna love this, Alex. Josh Harris also has a minor shareholder in Joe Gibbs Racing.
oh, imagine that. That
Yeah.
that explains why Gibbs was brought in immediately there.
Ah,
When I saw some media stuff from the Commanders. But
so they share some money back and
yeah,
forth too.
yeah, no, it's almost like a perfect fit in terms of ownership so far from what I'm seeing. We have a guy that seems to actually really want to see this franchise win, that has connections to players already and a great coach from our past, quite literally. Um,
Yep.
I think it's the right guy to have here. And it's almost like something that I don't want to say we as a fan base deserve after dealing with Dan Snyder's ownership to have someone that actually brings this much hope and optimism. But it is certainly nice to see.
Yeah. No doubt. Did you watch the press conference? The big press conference they did with him?
I was only able to catch a little bit of it in
It was like a
some of
30
those
minute
clips,
gig,
but
and I was sitting around and I had nothing else to do, so I watched it.
yeah.
It was pretty good. I liked it. One of the things he kind of leaned on is it's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm telling y'all now, I'm not looking for a lot this season, and I said that probably at the end of last year. I'm not looking for a lot on this. Manage those expectations.
Mhm.
He's talked about changing culture and having diversity and stuff. And he also talked, of course, a lot about the fan experience and trying to fix the stadium and stuff. And a lot of people saying new stadium. A lot of it seems like they're kind of leaning towards fixing RFK. I don't know. I'm not big on the ice. I'm not even from there, so that's whatever to me. I'm just a fan.
I think it's interesting. They certainly do have options. I mean, renovating FedEx Field is still always something that could be on the cards. I mean,
Yeah,
as bad as some of the state of the stadium is itself, it's a good spot overall. I mean, it had what, like 90,000 seat capacity at one point.
hmm
So like the potential's there if they were to just take the time and repair it. But at the same time, do you still want to be associated with that location that's now just linked to your past owner that had all the troubles and stuff at the same time? Like,
they just them talking. They leaned a lot on the history of the stadium and wanting to fix it. Is what it sounded like to me.
and that's a
But again, we've also seen the history of like teams that build new stadiums. You win a Super Bowl, right? We've seen that. So maybe if they could swing the voters to be okay with that or whatever. But
yeah, it's certainly something that I'm curious to see because obviously the conditions just can't remain as they are.
yeah, no, they're
So
bad.
there's going to be
They're bad.
some change,
Yeah.
obviously. It's just I wonder how far they'll go.
So there's that. Then the other pretty interesting part of all that was someone asked him about the fucking name.
That takes guts.
They asked him, yeah, like how did you warm up to it? And he was pretty non-committal, to be honest. He was. Before we get to the Magic Johnson bit of this, he was pretty non-committal about the Commanders thing. He said, and I have it in quotes here, it's all about how the city feels.
Oof.
And
That
we know from Facebook how the city feels. Now, here's where I'm going to go against that a little bit. We know these flaky bastards. I done kicked half of them off our Facebook page. It doesn't matter what they change it to. They're going to be mad no matter what, because this ain't coming back. It never will. Get that over with. I'm a
yeah,
fan too, but it's not coming back, and it never will.
that we need to establish as well. Yeah, that's
But
it
I
definitely.
don't know. I feel like no matter what it's going to change to, nobody's going to be happy. They're going to bitch no matter what. And yeah, Magic Johnson on the Today Show, which I did not watch, but there was headlines everywhere. And he said, I think everything is on the table, especially after this year. We will see where we are with the name, but I can't say for now.
I, I'm gonna be real. If they were to change it, I would say go back to Washington football team. Um, I
Oof.
I it it
They ain't
grew
doing
on
that.
me, but yeah,
They
they
ain't
won't
doing
go
that
there.
either. We need something with a cool logo. Like and I this is almost where I'm almost convinced they will. Because this is kind of just a holding pattern almost, isn't it? There's a name that's like whatever, and it's kind of a holding pattern. I have a conspiracy theory on this whole thing, but we'll get to that.
Ooh,
I almost feel like the rebrand will be too expensive and it's too much too soon. And like I said, the crybabies, half of y'all watching aren't gonna be happy no matter what they do. So whatever.
I mean,
But
they lost their minds when we got a dark black jersey, to be fair, so I can only imagine.
but there are so many reports they'll change the name. I even found a lady on Facebook I will not give any credit to. Unless this happens, I'll go find her name if this does happen. But she's like, "Oh, I have from inside sources. They will change the name this off season." That's not gonna happen. I don't know. Okay. I feel like either a they're gonna okay. We know coming into this, there's gonna be a couple of years where it's rough, right? Like kind of like the 76ers did, and I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like that's where he's gonna keep it the Commanders until this thing looks like it's gonna trend up, and then they just repackage the whole fucking thing and go forward with something really cool. Come out with a badass logo, cool team name, and we're going to the playoffs, and that's where everybody jumps on board, and everybody forgets about his 3 or 4 shit seasons. You know what I'm
Eh,
saying? And he can just
No,
wash that away while owning it.
I think that's exactly it. I think they keep Rivera around for another year or two, be enemies in the shadows as
Maybe,
OC,
yeah, give him
you
time.
know, proves himself,
Yeah, I
gets
know
the
Bieniemy's gonna
job.
be a head coach soon or
Oh,
later.
oh yeah. I mean, they clearly gave
Diversity,
him that.
people, it's coming. He's already
Oh
said
yeah,
it,
they gave him that assistant head coach title
and I
for a
mean that in a
reason
good
too. I
way, just
mean,
in case that sounds
oh
bad.
yeah,
But
and I think he's actually a guy that does deserve a shot as a
yeah,
head coach. I
totally. Oh, I'm
mean,
with it. I'm totally with it. But I just think that's what he's hitting at already.
oh yeah, yeah. I just wonder how long Rivera does stay around because there's
That I'm
part of me that
curious. I feel like a year,
I could see a
maybe
year
two.
or two, but
Yeah.
I could also see it like him also being done this season if it doesn't go
Like
right either.
this, I think this is where our things are tying together. Maybe when the whole brand change happens, they'll give it to the enemy. Maybe
Yeah, no, I mean it'd honestly be a good way for them to do it. I
I
mean,
might be
in
saying
terms
his
of
name completely
marketing, but
wrong. I'm just not noticing that. It sounds
no,
bad.
I think you got it right.
Okay. So I think either that or they keep it the Commanders and say, look at all the crowd, the people in the crowd wearing Commander shit. Everybody likes it. We're keeping it, and
Right?
everybody just continue to complain on Facebook. It's one of those two, I think.
I could see it either going both ways. I see why they're saying the things they are right now about like being open to a rebrand because it's almost something where I feel like they do want to test the fan base to see if that's really something they want.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I've grown to actually accept the Commander's name, and
totally.
there's been a lot of stuff they've done to actually get that name established, and I think you can't just switch it that quick. So
No,
if they do, it is going to be something that's probably years down the road. Like you said, when they are, turning around and like looking like that team that's gonna be,
yep,
um, you know, something um, special. But
yeah.
yeah,
And then we got to change the name of this fucking podcast. We got to change the name of the page again. Good God.
oh,
Ugh,
it'll be fun.
God.
We'll just keep adding letters to the end of it, just
That's what we should do. HTTRC, blah, whatever. Make
that's kind
everybody
of,
mad.
oh yeah, we respect it all. We'll have to add the F in there for
Yeah, it could
football
be the
team too.
goddamn
Like
intro. The Redskins past, the Commanders past, and the whatever the hell future, the
the
football
football team
team,
that one year, that
whatever.
right. Heaven knows what else next, but
Oh, God
at least
damn
we
it.
don't. Yeah, at least we don't have Bezos owning the team, so Washington Prime
That
is off the
I'm
table.
so glad. I'm so glad Bezos is not any kind of a part of this. I don't know why, but I'm glad. I owe that much money to swing some shit. I was
Yeah.
almost tempted to be happy about that because he could buy a Super Bowl, and I'm down to buy one.
Right. I mean, I'm just happy to sell you one at any point, but
We'll trade everyone for Patrick Mahomes and whatever. And just get a super team and beat everybody, like ruin football, like the NBA.
oh yeah. Oh, everyone would lose their minds too. It'd
That'd
be
be great.
wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, expectations for this season before we go to trashing Dan for an hour. Expectations for this season. I'm gonna tell y'all, man, I don't have much this year. But we're gonna do this show and we'll see what happens. I feel like I know they're gonna try and players
Right.
gotta play, and we got some we've already seen it, man. These dudes are dogs. They're not going quietly. They're playing for themselves. They want to show themselves no matter what. Uh but they're feeling things out. I mean, and again in the press conferences and everything else, Josh and all those guys said, hey man, we're new to this. We're coming in. We're going to let them do their thing. And he did say that, as a matter of fact. We're going to let
Oh
them
yeah.
kind of run things and see what they do. And we'll see from there. And yeah, we're coming in with a completely rookie quarterback. And they're just letting the shit run. And
I
I would expect possibly rough year or two.
yeah, there's that part of me that just wants to have optimism and think that Sam Howell is gonna come in and just crush it with
He could.
Bieniemy calling things.
He
And,
could.
and it's possible. But I also am prepared for the fact that we realistically do have a rookie quarterback this year. Maybe his
Yes.
second year, but he only played one game last year. So I don't think that really he's still a rookie at heart.
Yep.
So you're gonna see a lot of mistakes, I feel, from him. But then I also have seen the potential from him in his highlights from college. So there's a good QB there. I just don't know if he's gonna be the guy for the future. I feel like he's a good bridge QB to get us through the
That's what
next
almost
couple seasons.
everything seems like. He's that bridge. Rivera's that bridge, and it's just a lot of people that's that. But you also got people like Terry and Robinson and all them that are like trying to shine. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying? They're not here to waste 5 years of their career to wait for something that's gonna happen next either. And they're great. So they can make some people look good along the way. And I feel like that's where again we'll just be right on that edge like we were last year, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I hope at least that's pretty much my expectation. I just hope we at least look somewhat good in this. And I know the fans are gonna be mad and it's not gonna be a playoff year right away. And they're gonna be like, oh, this guy sucks too. And they're automatically gonna flake on everything like they do every time.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And I almost
have
there's
patience. That's all I'm
right.
saying.
And there's part of me where like when last year we were like 1-4 at one point, and I saw everyone just be like, "Ah, I'm done."
Yep,
I almost could understand why people were like that,
sure.
but we stuck it through, and we were able to see the positives that
Well,
came with it
I've
there.
been through 17 years of other
Mhm.
shit. Why not?
And it's kind of interesting for us to be able to say that like I think a 7 or 8 win season was successful, but in the grand scheme of things, from some of the things we've endured during these past years, it actually was a pretty good season overall for us. Um, I know the team like Bienemy and Rivera and all that are saying the right things right now about the future and like trying to go for
Sure,
the
yeah,
playoffs and
they all
stuff.
got to say the thing.
Because you can't just say at the beginning of the year, yeah, we're going for like 30th or whatever, just wanting to get that
Yeah,
next
right.
draft pick. But um, I it, I know the defense is there for us. Like there's a top 10 defense that we've
Yeah,
got going on. It just remains to be seen if Howell's able to make use of all the weapons he has on offense, and if the O line that we have is enough to let him be successful. Because
the good
that's
old
another
O
thing.
line. I'll get to that pretty soon.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly that. We're gonna pause right here for just a second before we move on.